In this video, we're going to learn how to draw a box and whisker plot. I recommend you watch the video Calculate Quartiles first, just so you understand how I'm calculating Q1, Q2, and Q3, because that's going to be my first move. So, let's look at the data. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 things. And I listed them all in order, which you should do as well if they're given to you not in order. Nonetheless, with 22 things, the Q2 is going to be equal to the 11th thing plus the 12th thing divided by 2. And that's because there's an even number, so I divide 22 by 2 and take the 11th thing and the 12th thing, the middle 2, and divide by 2. The 11th thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, is 90. And the 12th thing is 91. Well, when I divide 90 plus 91 divide by 2, I get 90.5. So right in here now I know is Q2, or the median. That's going to be important later. Okay, so now I have to take the bottom half of the numbers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbers in the bottom half. So to calculate Q1 with 11 numbers, it's just going to be the middle number, which is the 6th number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Q1 is an 83. Oh, I don't know why I wrote it like that. So Q1 is 83. And calculate Q3, it's the same. I have 11 numbers here. 3, 4, 5, 6. And so Q3 is 100. That is, it is the middle of the upper half. Let's label that on the diagram too. Here's Q1 and here's Q3. Okay, so far so good. I know what my Q1 is, my Q2 is, and my Q3 is. The next thing I want to do is find out, I'll write it down here, what's the interquartile range? And the interquartile range you calculate just by going, what's Q3 minus Q1? In this case, what's 100 minus 83? The answer is 17. Why do that? Because we want to figure out what the max and min are. And the way we figure out those two things, I guess we'll start with maybe the min. So in order for there to be a true minimum, what we're doing is looking for the minimum. It's not the lowest number necessarily, or the highest number necessarily. It only is if it's inside the interquartile range times 1.5. Let me show you what I mean. To find the minimum that counts as not an outlier, we take Q1 and we subtract 1.5 times the interquartile range. That is, according to statistics, it only counts as the minimum as long as it's bigger than Q1, which is 83, minus 1.5 times the interquartile range of 17. Let's calculate that. What's 83 minus 1.5 times 17? And you get 57.5. So the lowest minimum has to be at least 57.5 or bigger, which means, wow, yeah, this 36 is no good. This 73 is going to be our min. So we should say this really wasn't the min, but it's better to, let's call it the limit on the min. So the limit on the minimum was 57.5, which means the minimum is actually going to be 73. And an outlier is 63. Let's do the limit on the max too. Calculate it the same way. In order for it to be a true max, it's got to be within 1.5 times the IQR of Q3. Here's the formula. The limit on the max is the third quartile boundary plus 1.5 times the IQR. So the third quartile boundary was 100 plus 1.5 times 17. And we get, it's 100 plus 1.5 times 17, 125.5. And that's good. That 115, everything's lower. So we can actually use this as the max. That means the max is 115. So what do we have to draw our box and whisker plot? We've got this Q2, this Q1, this Q3. We have our actual min, which is based on the fact that we have an outlier here, and we have a max. Should put an equal there. Now we have everything we need to draw our box and whisker plot. Let's do it. When you draw a box and whisker plot, the y-axis really isn't used, but we'll still draw an axis there. On our x-axis, make a straight line, and we'll label our ticks here. It's going to need to go up, just looking at the numbers, we have to go up pretty high. So we need to count from 0 all the way to 120. I'm going to need at least 12 ticks. Well, I might need to make that a little bit bigger. And realign my ruler to make even ticks again. Okay, so here's 0. And let's label that 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. Okay, so that's going to fit. There's no label on this axis, but on the bottom here, we want to label, give some sort of name to our data. And what are these data? I didn't actually say what this data represents. So let's just say data, and if it were a word problem that said what it was, we would use the actual name of maybe their marks, although I doubt it because it goes past 100. So here's our data, and now we'll label our graph. First, I think the easiest thing to start with is to put the Q1. So Q1 is 83. So at the 83, we put a starting box here, and then we go all the way to 100. That's our Q3. And we draw a box. Then, not down the middle, but wherever Q2 is, the median, which is 90.5, so it's right about here, we put a middle line to the box. So this is our Q1, our Q2 are our median, and our Q3. So at a glance, people can see, oh, 25% of the data is in there, 25% of the data is in there. And now we draw the whiskers, which it goes down to the minimum. The minimum here is 73, so that's about here. And you put a small little tick. That's what a whisker looks like. And then the max is 115, that's about out to here. You draw another little tick and connect. And so this is our min, and this is our max. And I'd like you to label these, please, if you're doing it on a test. So there's our min, our Q1, our Q2, our Q3, and our max. 25% of the data is here, 25% is here, 25% here, and 25% here. So it shows the spread of each of those quartiles. The last thing is to label our outlier, which was at 63, so that's about out here. And then we just label that the outlier. And that's how to draw a box and whisker plot. You'll calculate Q2, then Q1 and Q3. You'll find the interquartile range, and use that to determine the limit on the min and the limit on the max. That'll tell you the true min and the true max of the data and any possible outliers. Then you draw your box and whisker plot.